Hey everybody, and welcome back to the 31 Days of Indie Horror. I'm your host, Jonathan Moody, and this is a day 11, 11th of October, and I'm here with my co-host for Indie Film Cafe, Paul A. Presenza. How are you doing, Paul?
I'm doing marvelous, and I'm here with the continuity monkey.
I got TNA Monkey, who
both monkeys are involved in the movie we are going to talk about today.
Yeah, we're definitely going to talk about that in a second. And the movie that we are talking about is Robo Vampire.
I've been wanting to do this for quite a while. It's been on my list. A lot of Godfrey Ho movies are on my list. We just hadn't gotten around to it.
Well, you can pick another one. And I'm honestly, because these things are going to be sort of short. You know, they're not going to be a full hour, and they're not going to be like our normal IFC stinker, kind of thing. So, I mean, there's a couple of them that I'm like, you know what, I may end up doing them later, for an actual full-on podcast of it.
And maybe not so much for Indie Film Cafe, although this would be a good candidate, but this would also be an excellent candidate for What the Fuck Friday, because it's just so wackadoodle crazy.
It is. It's definitely a wackadoodle movie. It is weird. I didn't know how weird it was. Judging. Okay, so I'm going to show everybody this. This is what the cover looks like. Right?
Welcome to the cheap, stinky, wacky world of Godfrey Ho.
Now, when you look at that cover, you think to yourself, wow, that looks very much like RoboCop, right? Which I'm guessing that was what they were trying to go with. When you watch the movie, no. Nothing like RoboCop at all.
Nope.
It was like the robot itself. And I don't even know if he's a Robo Vampire at all. I know he fought vampires, or he fought gorillas. I don't know what he was fucking fighting, because they were not your traditional vampire things. They look like people in gorilla masks going like this.
Right. No, there's a whole wonderful, wacky world of Asian vampire movies where they hop with their arms out. Oh yeah, they're hopping vampires. That's just what they do. So that you'll see that in many, many different films.
Okay, but and it's not just Godfrey Ho.
No. But the thing is, you're not going to see them quite as crappy or as cheap as Godfrey Ho.
Okay. Well, it was just weird, hopping and putting their arms out, and and then flipping and doing all these different, ninja moves and stuff, which was just strange.
And the other earmark of Godfrey Ho is because he doesn't bother with things like story and plot, he's going to throw a lot of, explosions and fog and smoke machines and sparklers, because it's going to cover up the fact that you don't know what the fuck's going on.
Uh-huh. Yep, I had no idea anything. I could barely follow along the story. Thankfully everybody was dubbed in English for what I watched, but I still couldn't follow. You know what it reminded me of? Hanneman and the Five Riders. It was that bad. Yeah. It was that bad. I'm kind of glad.
Well, there's another reason too, because again, he, just like Sempodi Sam's, he will take footage either from stuff he's already shot from other films and put them in there, or he'll just take things from other films that aren't his and just throw it in there. And then, especially because this movie was 1988, so it's after RoboCop, so clearly he wants to make a little bit of money. He shot other stuff with these whatever local white actors that he managed to find in Hong Kong, and a lot of them aren't even actors. They're just people he just grabbed off the street.
Really?
In there, yeah, and then shot them, and then just put that footage in there, whether it made sense or not. And there you go. And then dubbed it later. You saw how bad the dubbing was.
Oh, God, yeah. The dubbing was terrible.
Yeah, the dubbing's always done later.
Seems like, gosh, dang. It was terrible. but it was sort of fun to watch that though. I mean, it felt like Bruce Lee like imitation, or whatever. And actually, there was a character in it who had like a little bit of a mustache thing going. He reminded me of Dennis Chan from the Kickboxer movies, and I thought it was him. And I looked him up on the IMDb and everything, and couldn't find him unless it is him and he's not listed, which I just don't think. I think it was somebody else who just happened to look very much like him. But I was like, man, that guy looks a lot like Dennis Chan from. You never seen the Kickboxer movies, have you?
I saw when it first came out a long time ago, but
The
they didn't
first one,
really.
he was in the first one. He was the teacher in the first
Mhm.
one and stuff, and I thought he was great. And I was wondering because I mean, this would be about the time that he was doing stuff, or
Mhm.
whatever. So he could have been in this movie. I mean, at the end of the movie, they don't do credits, which was strange. I did not see any credits. It's just the end and ended.
Costs money. This happens a lot with those kind of B movie Asian B movies. They're just they're just action to keep your
Uh,
interest. That's it.
the ending was so freaking strange. It just ended sort of like I was like, wait a minute, they've got like 2 minutes left, and they haven't even like wrapped up the complete storyline of everything, and like, um. So let me first up say that well, I didn't know what I was getting myself into when I picked it. Um, I know you were a fan or knew the movie or
Oh
whatever,
yeah.
so you were well aware, and thankfully you also have a lot of background on it and stuff,
And
know a
there's a
lot about it.
second one.
What?
Yes, there's
There's
Robo Vampire 2.
Oh my god. Okay, so I want to preface this by saying, like, I don't think it should be called Robo Vampire. I think it
No.
should be called Robot versus Vampire or something like that, because like there's like 10 vampires or something, like they all hop around the guy, the robot at one point, and I thought that was hilarious because he was just like which one should I kill first, or whatever, like, and and so there's and secondly, who's the good guy? It's like, is there a good guy? Is there a bad guy? Like, I don't
I mean,
understand.
I guess the drug agent who dies who becomes Robo Vampire is theoretically the good guy, but there are a number of characters because again, this is being grafted from other scenes from other films where they just kind of pop in and pop out, and they'll float along in the movie for a little bit, and then they just vanish, or their little storylines never get wrapped up.
Do you know what my favorite scene was?
There's a lot of really fun scenes, but you tell me.
It's not a fun scene. It's just a ridiculous because of how bad it looked. There's a scene where they were in an office, right? And this guy was talking to the person, and obviously one person's like behind a desk, and the other person's sitting in the chair across from him. And then he says he wants to oh yeah, talk to blah blah blah, right? So the next scene is the exact same spot. It's just like a new guy is in the same area. It's almost as if they were like, okay, cut, move that guy into that, because then they cut back to the same guy. I had to rewind it to check and see if it was the exact same spot. He was in the exact same spot. He just pretty much just kept saying all his lines in one spot. I mean, I guess that saves money, but like, and time, but like, it looks
Awful.
so terrible. Like, it looks like
Yeah.
it couldn't even, like, what they should have done, and this is, whatever, this is what I would have done. But if you're gonna have it be like two separate places, like two separate, because it didn't even look like it looked like basically the same take, or whatever. It's just a new guy in the spot. So what they should have done is took the guy that was sitting in the chair talking to the guy across the desk, right? Then cut to the other guy now behind the desk talking to, that would have looked like there was what I mean? Like, even if you can tell like it's the same spot too or whatever, it doesn't matter because at least it looked a little bit different
It's
this way.
shitty editing. It's
Yeah.
just the way it is. I mean, think about it this way. Remember when the three idiots at the beginning, the drug guys, the
Mhm.
white drug guys, they come up to meet Robo Vampire the first time, and they're shooting and they're going on the shit, nothing's happening. So the guy gets a bazooka and he shoots it, and that's like the one thing that actually blows him up. And then like the immediate like second after that happens, Robo Vampire is all the way back in the lab getting worked on by his buddies. It's like, how did that happen? You know,
Right.
where was the transition there? How did he just get from 1 second being blown up into 2 seconds later being fixed? And the guy's like, yep, ready to go.
Well, I mean, generally speaking, when you do a film or whatever like that, you're supposed to have a scene where, like, maybe the people grab the vampire, Robo Vampire, and take him away, you know, or something, or at least show that they're going to. You know what I mean? When I see this in a lot of indie films because they just don't have time to shoot extra, you know, like B unit footage or whatever of these things, so they end up just, you know, cutting to like the next scene and everything, and
And
there's
then they
just
just
no
pitch
transition.
whatever's there next because either somebody didn't think about a bridge scene, or they didn't care, or they didn't want to spend the money for it.
That's like an Ed Wood thing to do. Like, oh, by the way, today that we're filming this, October 10th, is Ed Wood's birthday.
Yay!
So
Happy
sad.
Wood Day.
Yeah, I know. It's a very nice. I forgot it was his birthday, and some people started mentioning it, and I was like, "Aw."
It should be a national holiday.
It should be. I'm definitely going to be watching a Ed Wood inspired thing today. Well, I mean, other than this, you know, this is very Ed Woody, you know, kind of thing. But like, this was worse than Ed Wood because at least Ed Wood really gave a crap about his stories, and even if he couldn't make things whatever, you know, like, you know, walk through the door and you bumped into the door, oh, that'll look real. I mean, I don't know. I watched that scene. It doesn't look that bad to me, you know, the way that they described it. And so this would be like if they really took that door and just like made it obvious that the person bumped into it, you know, or whatever.
Right. Ed Wood makes better ghosts too. The ghost in this one was ridiculous. The ghost / witch / Western chick.
I was very confused by her.
Yeah, I think she was pretty much there because she gets her top taken off a couple of times. And that's about it.
Yeah. But yeah, she was so strange. There was like no real like, and she got married to the fucking vampire or whatever.
With the ape mask.
With the ape mask, you know? Like, I don't what is up with the ape mask? Like, do they think vampires are apes? And
it's just cheap, shitty makeup. Now, wait till you start seeing some of these other films where they have like little baby vampires hopping around. It's so ridiculous.
We'll definitely have to do that 1 year in Indie Film Cafe. I think every year for Indie Film Cafe there should be one like Japanese or whatever, you know, Eastern, you know, kind of movie.
I've already got one plotted for season 4, and I'm hoping if we get a chance to do it with Johnny Johnson, that'll be my guinea pig for that. If me and Johnny Johnson see it, it'll be perfect.
I bet he would love it. After this, after we were done with this, I'll have to tell you what my idea for the start of that is. But yeah, no, that's the thing. So this, honestly, this was terrible. This was, I mean, if we had, I was like trying to think about it. Like if we had another person and we did an IFC, would this be a 30? And I'm thinking if it's not, it would be damn close.
It would be damn close.
Like it would be a 29 or 29 and a half.
Right.
If not a 30, because I almost like, I feel like I think it at least deserves a 9, but you know, I mean, almost maybe a 10. I mean, it is just god awful.
I mean, some of the practical things aren't too bad. You know, some of the physical stuff. You know, he's pretty good with like stunt people. Mm-hmm. So even though you can tell there's a lot of wires involved, at least there's a lot of action and people are flying around and people doing drop kicks and people doing. You know, there's a lot of choreography that's done okay. Because, I mean, shit, the guy made like 150 movies in the span of 40 years or something like that. So, and he was making, you know, when Shaw Brothers and all those guys were doing all kinds of great stuff, he was kind of like doing the lesser B movie kind of version. He had to keep up with them. So of course, everything they did, he'd have to do something a little bit crazier, a little bit wackier, a little bit nutsier, just to sort of get noticed. And that's kind of where he made his bread and butter. But I got a whole bunch of Godfrey Ho movies because the fact is he just didn't have the money to spend like Shaw Brothers did, so they tend to look ridiculous and terrible and cheap and crappy and bizarre. So they tend to be a little bit more fun in that regard.
Right. I mean, honestly, when we see a bad movie, we enjoy it, if it's bad. If it's that bad. Like, I mean, if it's just boring, we don't enjoy that. And that could be a bad movie too, you know what I mean? But this is just terrible. This has probably so far been the worst movie I've seen this month. And nice. I think it may win as the worst movie so far of the.
Yay!
I'll have to see.
I feel honored.
I know, right? Well, I mean, that's why I picked it for you because I mean, it sounded terrible, so I was like, oh, Paul will have a fun time rewatching this.
Oh yeah.
And also, when I was watching it, I was like thinking, like, yeah, I mean, if I'm gonna have the worst of all the movies that are here, I might as well have it with the guy who's helped me start Indie Film Cafe.
Although, as I did have fun, although I did forget about the cow torture scene. I wasn't happy about that.
Well, yeah, that's terrible. But you can't win everything, like
no. But if you watch enough Godfrey Ho movies, you're going to see some of that footage floating around in other films. Just you wait.
Oh wow! So, is Godfrey Ho still around, or is he dead?
I honestly don't know. I know he retired sometime like 2008, 2010, something like that. And I know for a while he was kind of like a mentor to a lot of younger filmmakers, but I know he hasn't made anything since the early 2000s.
Yeah.
As far as being around, I don't know. I hope so. It'd be great. His movies are a lot of fun, even if they're not very good. So I don't know. I mean, if he's out there, mentoring young filmmakers and how to make a movie and chop out a bunch of stuff so that you can save money and it ends up being more garbage, I'm all for it.
Yeah. So wow. Just trying to think if God, yeah, that's gonna be. I'm sure there's some that are terrible. I was looking at some of the titles that he has. Let me read some of these titles for the audience so people can know what to expect. Alibaba and the Gold Raiders, which sounds normal, right? Like you would think, okay. And then there's Catman and Boxer's Blow.
I got both the Catman movies. I've been waiting to unleash them on you guys.
Angel the Kickboxer.
Yep.
Little Kickboxer.
Yep.
Kickboxer Against the Odds. He likes kickboxers.
Sure.
So I'm wondering if maybe that guy, that was Dennis Chan that was in it. Because I mean, this guy likes kickboxer stuff, so he may have, put him in there. Ninja Empire sounds awesome. Lethal Panther.
Yep. I know that one.
You do? Dynamite Girls.
Ooh, that sounds great.
He didn't even want his name on there. It says Oliver Limper.
Wait. Well, that's the thing. You'll notice that you will use a very, very Anglo name every now and again. Like Scott Livingston is one and a few other ones. And he will use, like I said, white or Western actors whenever possible because his idea was that will sell it easier to Hollywood than if it's just all Asian people. Exactly.
Charles Lee was the name he used for Mission Dynamo. That sounds. The vampire is still alive. Full Metal Ninja. What?
Yay!
That sounds amazing. Full Metal. Charles Lee. His thing for that.
And
is,
typical B movie kind of thing too. You come up with a great title. Ultimately, it doesn't matter what's in there. The title sells.
Like this one. Zombie versus Ninja.
Sweet.
I mean, how freaking awesome is that? Like, I want to see those now,
Absolutely. Well,
I
got a bunch.
You got a bunch, and we'll have to track down some more. Probably YouTube has some, right? You
Oh
know.
yeah. There's if you go to the Wu-Tang collection, they have a whole bunch of Godfrey Ho stuff. They have a whole bunch of wacky stuff there. I mean, there's a whole wide, wonderful world of Asian cinema out there that needs to be explored. I'd love to
That's
do a show just on that.
I bet eventually we will. Like, because I mean, right now we've been doing a lot of different, shows for Indie Film Cafe, and I've got a couple that I'm starting up, and some we're announcing pretty soon that I think will be fun for everybody. But also this, like, are you doing Indie Film Cafe, picking out these wackadoodle movies too, as well that
And
you'll.
the other person who could help us with that is Andrew Leavold, because if anything, he knows even more about these Asian wacky movies than I do. So
Oh wow.
and owns just about all of them too. So if we could talk him into doing like a threesome with us, that would be great.
All right, just be careful how you say that. How you state that with him. You might be like, I don't know. I don't know about that. So yeah, so all in all, this was a bad, terrible, fun movie. I would recommend it if somebody is interested in watching sort of something that's just really weird and out there and different, like this is a strange thing.
If you don't mind sort of turning your brain to duh, and you don't mind the fact that it makes absolutely no sense whatsoever, but you want a lot of action and you want a lot of fighting and you want a lot of smoke and sparklers and explosions, this is your kind of film.
Yeah, I mean, especially if you like the martial arts, like Enter the Dragon style kind of thing. It felt like a video game at times, like an old school video game. So I mean, it was enjoyable, and it also felt very much like Rambo or something, where the people are out in the, fighting each other, blowing each other up and shit. And
I mean, there's just enough action so that the movie's not dull, and
right.
that's very important. So, and I have to give Godfrey Ho that. Most of his movies, that while they're incoherent and weird and strange, they're almost never boring. And so, that's the cardinal rule of filmmaking that we always talk about: never be boring.
Never be boring. And so this was definitely not boring. It kept my attention the whole way through. There was, and you know how hard that is anyway these days, because I mean, I have a million things to do. So if I'm sitting down watching your movie, it better entertain me enough where I want to know what's going to happen next. And this movie, I only wanted to know what was going to happen next so that, like it because it's so batshit crazy.
Can we talk a little bit about Robo Vampire and his ridiculous suit and the ridiculous sound effects?
Yes, please.
Because clearly, I mean, I guess the way the cover art looks is that he's supposed to be some kind of metallic robot.
Right.
But there ain't nothing metallic about him. He's clearly wearing some kind of, silverish painted on stuff on an actual fabric suit, because he's moving all over the place. And, somebody in the background or somebody dubbed in later on going,
Right. And the funniest thing about that was whenever he walked and you saw him from behind, that's when I noticed that this was like a suit, not a not like some kind of all metal, thing or whatever. And then the funniest thing I thought was when they were trying to fix him, right?
Right.
He got hurt. So they had it covered up so you couldn't see what they were doing or whatever. And I was like, wait, is he in there? Because I thought, like, how did that happen, right?
Right.
No, there was they showed it. They undid the thing, and you could see that there was I guess a little bit of wires. And he was like, "Oh, I just put this in here, and that's how we're gonna fix him when it blows up, or whatever."
Hey presto, instantly fixed.
I know it was ridiculous. I agree, 100% ridiculous.
And so the highlight, of course, is the 2 or 3 times that Robo Vampire is actually fighting the vampires. So you've got stiff, slow, awkward, ridiculous Robo Vampire and his little robo moves fighting ridiculous, stiff, awkward, hopping vampires.
Mm-hmm.
Who, I mean, at least I guess they were a little bit more athletic, but still, the fight scenes looked ridiculous. They just
Yep.
looked bizarre. And if you're not used to that sort of thing, you're going to be like, what the hell am I watching?
Mm-hmm. Yeah. No, it was.
Very silly.
I was hoping that Robo Vampire would have a gorilla mask on in the thing, in the and he did not. He looked normal, or
And
whatever.
there was always like some kind of weird special effect going on too. Like when the witch was fighting one of the vampires and she like puts her hands up and then the other guy matches and puts her hands up. And I guess they're supposed to be pushing each other, but the effect makes them look like they're sort of dancing.
Yeah.
It just looked ridiculous. It's like, could you at least sell it to make it look like you're fighting at least a tiny bit? And then one of them ends up. This is like the Taoist master who's supposed to be controlling the vampire, where she's pushing him, and when he goes backwards, they put sparklers in the bottom of his sneakers, so it looks like he's trailing sparks as he's getting pushed back, and it just didn't look good at all. It just looked bad,
All of it looked bad. It looked terrible, like it was badly shot, badly directed, badly everything. But
badly dubbed,
all of it. Just every single aspect of this film was terrible.
and terrible.
Cheap and terrible. And it's funny because Godfrey Ho, you could tell he was trying just to like put something together to make it work or whatever. And I mean, he made a movie. I mean, whatever.
It's one of those things. Throw a bunch of shit against the wall, something will stick, maybe, if we're lucky.
And I guess it did. I don't know. All in all, like I said, if you are in the mood to watch something really terrible, you heard us talk about this. If you have not seen this movie, go watch it. It's on Tubi. I think it might even be on Amazon Prime. But
it's in public domain at this point, I believe. So there's all kinds of versions floating around. I have a DVD version.
Hey, if we can put it on Sick Flick TV,
let's do it.
Let's do it. We'll have if it's public domain, awesome.
Mm-hmm.
I'm down with Robo Vampire being part of Sick Flick TV.
Yeah, a lot of those Asian films are.
Remind me of a Robot Monster a little bit, so
and
maybe
Robo Chick.
And Robo Chick. Well, yeah. Oh my God. I think that's why I wanted originally. Like I thought about Robo Vampire was because of Robo Chick, and then this month when I was trying to pick a thing, I was going through Tubi and it popped up on the suggested. I don't know why it was suggested, but it got suggested to me, and I was like, all right, this would be perfect for Paul. Because Paul's already talked about how he'd seen it and how he would want to do this. So I think this was a perfect one for day 11. It's like almost halfway through, or whatever, like the 15th will be halfway through.
And you think you've touched bottom with this one?
I think so far. I mean, I don't know. I've still got 20 more days or whatever, to go through. So who knows? God damn, 20 more days. I got it.
It's tough. That's why I kept thinking, if I wanted to do one every day for a year, that's really hard. It's really difficult.
Remember I did that one year in 2017, and it was tough. I mean, but I didn't do like just indie horror films or something like that. I did like, every movie, if I wanted to watch a movie, I'd watch a movie. I kind of cheated sometimes because sometimes I didn't, and I just said I did, because there was. I mean, it's hard. You got to make time every day to do it. I mean, there are times I'd rather just go hang out with my friends or whatever, and I know I've got to do one of these, or whatever. So
yeah, I think the smart way to do it is to watch 2 or 3 and then bank a few, and then at a time. This way, you've always got something there.
I know. That's what you sort of have to do a lot of times for the podcast too, period. So
sure.
But thank you, Paul. This has been educational for me. I did not know a lot of that stuff that you told me about him, and there was some TNA. There was
I was
a little happy about that. I mean, from the one chick, but I mean, whatever. It could be worse. I was thinking there's going to be some in the pool, or the lake. Or
yeah, that would have been nice. I'm almost positive that footage is lifted from another film. So figure out what film that is. Maybe there's more going on in that scene.
That was a really random, like, romantic scene or whatever.
Ridiculous.
Yeah. But anyway, guys, check it out. If you haven't seen it, don't worry. Even though we spoiled it, it's not spoiled until you watch the movie itself.
And how could you not want to watch a movie called Robo Vampire? Come on.
I love this. I think it deserves a remake, somewhere down the line. But if you're going to do a Robo Vampire movie, make it about a robotic vampire, please. Like, that would be awesome. Like a vampire or a robot that bites you. Like, how freaking... No hopping. Leave the hopping to the Japanese people. Let them have their thing there. But if you're going to make an American version of this, make it Americanized. Don't make them hop.
I have an idea for you. We'll have to talk.
All right. Well, thank you, Paul. And thank you, everybody, for checking this out. Check out tomorrow's one. I can't tell you what it is yet. I know what it is, but who knows if it'll, that's why I don't like to say it ahead of time, because sometimes things don't happen. Like, we plan it and then something happens or whatever. So you don't, you
never know.
Never know until you're done recording, like right now. So we know Robo Vampire is coming up. We can mention that online, but aside from that, who knows what's coming up next. I do have some really cool ideas of what I want to do, and so we'll have some fun.
And we do have that new blog that's gonna highlight news for Indie Film Cafe, right?
We do. If you go to indiefilmcafe.blogspot.com, you can, and I'll try to put the link down below. You can see news, and you'll see all the stuff that's going on. We're gonna try to update that. I don't know. I always say I want to say weekly, but it might be weekly, it might be monthly, it might be every other month. We don't know, because it just depends on how busy we are.
Right. And if you go to Indie Film Cafe reviews, you'll see a little link on there that says news, and that link will take you right there.
Exactly, which is perfect. There's a lot of links on indiefilmcafe.review, so check them out. Well, all right. Thank you once again, Paul. Thank you all once again for watching. Tune in tomorrow and all the way up to the 31st of October. So thank you, guys. Bye.
Bye.